A part of Disney's Phase 4 televised serials for their streaming service, Disney Plus, WandaVision shares its continuity with Marvel film franchise and takes place after the unfortunate events of Avengers Endgame. WandaVision is the first miniseries released in a line of projected projects coming up. This is Lulu, and you're listening to Utter Random's podcast, and we are doing a midnight binge. Beware of spoilers. Before we're moving on, I think this particular podcast is going to be a part 1, part 2. So I think part 2 will be released next Monday as of currently standing. So next Monday it'll be released. So this will be a part 1, part 2. And once again, beware of spoilers. Filmed before a live studio audience. Starting out as a black and white show, we've seen Wanda Maximoff, who's played by Elizabeth Olsen, and Vision, Paul Bettany, newly married and moving into a home in a town of Westview in what looks like the 1950s. They are attempting to blend in, even though Vision is an android and WandaVision is telekinetic with reality warping abilities, trying to fit in with those. Wanda and Vision struggle to figure out why a date on their calendar is marked with a heart, and obviously its importance. Wanda believes it's their anniversary, but we actually find out that Vision is supposed to have his boss, Mr. Hart, and his wife over for dinner. Wanda and Vision struggle to hide their powers as they try to make last-minute dinner plans for their unexpected guest. With the help of their nosy next-door neighbor, Agnes, who's played by Kathryn Hahn, dinner is set. Things become heated, though, during the dinner as Mr. Hart and his wife grill Wanda and Vision on where they came from and what their story was. Unexpectedly, Mr. Hart chokes on food and Wanda commands Vision to help him. After dinner is wrapped up, Vision points out that they, in fact, have no anniversary or even wedding bands, even though they seem to be obviously married. They decided that day would be their anniversary, and Wanda conjures wedding bands for the both of them. This all seems to be taking place on a fictional sitcom, which is evident when the episode comes to an end and someone is writing in a notebook sporting the sword insignia. Filmed before a live studio audience is set up similarly like I Love Lucy, canned laughter, and even a commercial for Stark Industries are included. We are left scratching our heads about what's going on. Fun fact, some episodes of WandaVision was indeed filmed in front of a live studio audience. Episode 2, named Don't Touch That Dial, seemingly now takes place sometime in the 1960s and begin with Wanda and Vision talking in bed about odd people in Westview. Believing that the townspeople are referring to them, they go to bed without a single thought. The next morning, Vision is practicing a magic routine for the town's talent show fundraiser. Wanda serves as his assistant, who he makes disappear. As Vision expresses his unease and worries about the routine, Wanda consoles him and explains that this is so they can fit in with their neighbors. While Wanda heads to a community meeting for the fundraiser, Vision goes to another meeting for the town watch at the library. Wanda doesn't make it far, though, after hearing a crash in their front yard, and upon investigating, she spots a toy helicopter, but something is wrong with it. Instead of being black and white like the rest of the world, it's actually in color. Agnes startles her, and they end up going to the meeting together. Agnes warns her that Dottie Jones, who is the head of the committee, can make her life within the town so much easier. At the meeting, we see how demanding Dottie is, though, and we meet Geraldine, who's played by Tanoia Paris, who says that she has no idea why she's at this meeting, and Wanda concurs as she is feeling just as out of place. Meanwhile, Vision is at the library for the town watch meeting. They wish to exclude poor Vision, saying that it's a members-only meeting. However, he ends up hanging around nonetheless and asking a slew of questions about the town's watch's policies. They offer him food, which he obviously quickly refused because he's an android, saying mistakenly that he doesn't eat food. Catching his obvious mistake, he attempts to cover this slip of the tongue and is instead offered a piece of gum. Rather awkwardly, he chews the gum when one of the other attendees pats his back and causes him to accidentally swallow the gum, which wreaks havoc on his inner mechanical workings. Back at the community fundraiser meeting, things aren't going much better. They are cleaning up after the meeting, and Wanda is trying to get on the good side of Dottie. Dottie says that she has heard things about Wanda and Vision, and before she could offer any other explanation, a garbled voice can be heard coming through the radio sitting nearby. The voice asks Wanda, "Can you hear me? Who is doing this to you, Wanda?" However, the radio short circuits, cutting the transmission, and a glass, which Dottie was also holding, shatters, cutting Dottie's hand. Once again, it's wrong. Instead of being black and white, the blood is visibly red. Seemingly unfazed, Dottie jokes about getting blood stains out of white linen and simply walks away. At the fundraiser, Wanda begins to panic backstage, waiting for Vision. When he finally does show up, he staggers backstage, almost as if he's drunk. Wanda goes out onto the main stage to introduce Vision, who continues to stumble and stagger. As he bumbles his way through the magic routine, he ends up using his abilities to the dismay of Wanda. Quickly trying to contain the chaos, Wanda uses her own powers so that explanations could be practical. During the finale, they make Geraldine appear in the cabinet, which was originally supposed to make Wanda disappear. Poor Geraldine is obviously confused, but the audience is ecstatic. When they return backstage after their routine, Wanda finds out that Vision has gum clogging up his gears, and she corrects the problem. Now sober, Vision and Wanda try to make their escape, but are stopped by Dottie and are actually awarded Best Comedy Performance. Back home, they celebrate their performance. Wanda ends up going to the kitchen for something, and she's called back by Vision. When she turns around, she's pregnant. They hear a sound outside their home and go out to investigate. A creepy man, in a beekeeper suit with a bunch of bees, exits the manhole. Wanda's angry. We don't know why she's angry. She's angry at this guy. And she utters a single word. No. And the scene is rewound. Like, why is it rewinding? What's going on? And it rewinds to the point where Wanda and Vision find out that they're pregnant. Wanda asks if this is really happening, to which Vision responds that it really is. The scene becomes colorized. And as the scene comes to an end, the voice from the radio is overheard for a second time, repeating the phrase, "Who is doing this to you, Wanda?" With another time jump, we enter 1970s, and WandaVision is now in color, and this is actually the name of this episode, episode 3. They get in contact with an OBGYN, Dr. Stan Nielsen, so a very, very panicked Vision can ask some unusual questions surrounding the pregnancy. Confused by the oddness of the questions, Dr. Nielsen concludes that Wanda is approximately 4 months pregnant. Doc, she's probably about 12 hours. Vision walks Dr. Nielsen out and requests that he keeps Wanda's pregnancy a secret. Agreeing to this, Dr. Nielsen leaves and Vision spots Herb and Agnes hanging out nearby. However, once again, strangeness is happening. Herb is trying to cut his concrete wall with electric garden trimmers. What are you doing, Herb? Those don't work there. Vision points it out, and Herb simply just thanks him and continues trying to cut his wall with some very, very impractical trimmers. Vision heads inside to tell Wanda what Herb was doing, only to find that Wanda's stomach is even bigger now. She is now further along in her pregnancy. Later in the day, Wanda starts preparing the nursery for the impending arrival of a baby when she starts to feel kicking. This causes her to accidentally use her powers to bring some paper butterflies to life. Surprised by this, she comments that she didn't do any of this on purpose. They continue with their conversation and land on the topic of baby names. Aww. Vision wants the name Billy for a boy, while Wanda is settled on the name Tommy. Playfully, they continue their banter about the names of their future child. However, Vision is starting to worry, so he does the math to figure out when Wanda's projected due date would be. At the current rate of her pregnancy, she would be due in 3 days. Still preparing for the arrival of their child, Vision practices changing a diaper on a baby doll while Wanda times him. Their preparations are interrupted by Wanda experiencing false labor. Unfortunately, once again, this causes her to lose control of her powers. And every appliance in their house goes absolutely bonkers, just on the fritz. And they end up losing power. But Vision learns that not only did they lose power, but so did the entire block. Wanda points out that if this is happening with false labor, what would happen when the real thing happens? She continues to share her concerns about the neighbors finding out about them, and Vision says that something is really wrong with everything. The scene rewinds again. What's going on? Why is it rewinding again? And instead of Vision expressing something is wrong with his neighbors or something wrong, period, he simply comforts Wanda. As they begin to relax, Wanda once again experiences some labor pains, only this time it's the real deal. They try to work through it with some breathing exercises, which was supposed to calm Wanda, but ends up calming a very freaked out Vision. Everything is okay. until it begins to rain inside their house. Hiding under a table, they wait it out. Wanda uses her powers to dry everything off, while Vision goes to the doctor with his super speed. As Wanda concentrates on her growing labor, she hears an odd sound coming from the nursery. She goes to investigate. She's startled, though, by someone knocking at the door. Trying to keep her unusual pregnancy under wraps, she hides her tummy with a huge jacket before answering the door for Geraldine. She has come for the aid of Wanda because a pipe burst in her home and she needs a bucket now. Agreeing to help Geraldine, Wanda goes to grab a bucket, only to have several more contractions, and with each contraction, her jacket changes. Unaware of the craziness that's currently happening, Geraldine begins to tell a story about her work as an actual stork that was painted earlier in the nursery has come to life, similar to the butterflies, and is now walking around the living room. Wanda works hard to get rid of her neighbor when she realizes that the stork is seemingly immune to Wanda's powers. When Geraldine enters the nursery, she realizes that Wanda is pregnant, and Wanda ends up going into full-blown labor. Meanwhile, Vision is now at the doctor's house, grabs him, and super speeds back home. Geraldine assists Wanda during her pregnancy and knows that the house is just completely on the fritz. She consoles herself, explaining away the craziness with a logical explanation. Yeah, you can totally do that with logic. Geraldine is able to deliver Wanda's baby boy and hands him over to Wanda just as Vision and Dr. Nelson arrive. With Geraldine and Dr. Nielsen in a separate room, Wanda hands Vision Tommy as Vision transforms into his android self. At this very lovely, sweet moment, Wanda begins experiencing labor pain again and delivers a second son, Billy. After all the excitement, the four adults are in the living room with Vision and Dr. Nielsen, who are holding Tommy and Billy. Vision once again escorts Dr. Nielsen out, who mentions that his planned vacation was probably not going to happen now because small towns are hard to escape. Puzzled, Vision sees Urban Agnes once again near his yard gossiping. Curious, he asks what they're doing and what they're talking about, and Agnes begins gossiping about Geraldine and how she's new to town with no family, husband, or even a home. Visions clearly finds this information confusing, and so do I, because she's supposed to have a burst pipe in her house, and that's why she came to the house. Inside, Wanda reveals to Geraldine that she is also a twin, which is so sad. This causes Wanda to be just overcome with emotion at the mention of her twin brother, Pietro Maximoff, before singing a Sokovian lullaby to her newborns. Visibly confused, Geraldine reminds Wanda that Pietro was killed by Ultron in the Battle of Sokovia. This is the first time we've pretty much heard anything regarding the Avengers or Ultron or Sokovia, and this remark catches Wanda off guard, and she's angry and confronts Geraldine about what she said. Wanda wants Geraldine to repeat everything that she just said, and Geraldine avoids the question by offering to take a shift to look after the babies. However, Wanda isn't having it and sees that Geraldine is wearing a sword necklace. Becoming more and more demanding, Wanda continues to ask who Geraldine is and the symbol on her necklace. Vision heads back inside after an odd encounter with Agnes and Herb about Geraldine outside. When he heads inside, Geraldine's no longer there, and he asks Wanda about Geraldine. Eerily nonchalant, Wanda explains that Geraldine had to go home. However, after a very odd cut between Geraldine leaving and Vision coming back inside, we find ourselves looking at Geraldine surrounded by agents in a helicopter. So that's where we're going to end it right now, and we will have a part 2 for WandaVision. I want to thank you guys so much for listening, and consider supporting this podcast at Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, or right here on Anchor or wherever you listen to your podcast typically. And I will catch you guys later. Cheers.